I grew up in Northeast Ohio in the United States, where in the wintertime it's cold, it's on Lake Erie, it's full of snow. Once a year, from as early as I could walk, I made it a point, not intentionally, to fall in the snow, and usually in a crowded area where everybody could see me fall. Things like crossing the street or in the middle of downtown going into a building. I would just once a year have the spectacular fall. It was a cold, miserable existence, and I didn't like it at all. So I made up my mind that as soon as I was able to start working as an adult, I would get jobs that would actually get me out of that environment. And I did just that. I started a years-long trek across the country from Northeast Ohio, going as far west as I could go, and we ultimately ended up in sunny Southern California. I've been in Southern California for almost 30 years. I left all the family behind. I gathered up my children, my husband, and off we went, moving every 2 years or so with my job, seeking warmer and warmer climates. And I ended up in sunny Southern California. After we had been in California for a while, I realized that we had to go back home to Ohio to visit my grandmother, who was aging and losing her battle against Alzheimer's. And I wanted to visit her one last time while she still had moments of lucidity, and I wanted her to see her great-grandchild one last time before she slipped off into Alzheimer's. So my daughter, her 3-year-old son, and myself packed up a car. I took 2 weeks vacation from the job, and we drove from California to Ohio. We went across the bottom route going back to Ohio and then up, and then coming back we went across the top route and down into California. It was rather scary at times. I can remember one time we checked into a motel, and the desk clerk was a man, and it was really kind of ominous sounding, and we were off in some hotel that was in some cornfield that looked like it might have been in some kind of scary movie. And the guy goes, "You girls are a long way from home, huh?" And I thought, okay, this is it. We're going to die this night. But turns out we didn't have any adventures. We had rented a car, so we were not worried about the reliability of our vehicle. And we just took our time. We drove in shifts, stopped every night so that the 3-year-old could get out and stretch his legs, and he would run into the hotel rooms and jump up and down on the beds and run around. So it was a very kind of leisurely trip, but we still made good time and got back there in a couple days. Nothing crazy happened. We didn't turn off in any roads. We didn't run into any aliens, at least not that we know about. We didn't see anything bizarre or drive through any weird towns or anything like that. The weird thing happened when we got back home. We got back home. If you've ever lived away from your family, every time that you go back, you're usually crunched for time because everybody wants to see you, realizing that, especially if you don't go back very often, realizing that they want to catch up, they want to see you, they want to see how you're doing and show you everything that they've done and how their kids have grown and things like that. So you end up wherever they may be living, and usually when you get there, they want to feed you and they want to have, their relatives or their friends come by and see you. So it's kind of a whirlwind thing. And then you always need to make sure that you spend time with your immediate family there. And I wanted to spend time with my grandmother, and did, in fact, actually get to spend time with her, and so did my daughter. And that's another story about what happened during that part of the visit with my grandmother. We made the rounds. We saw everybody. At one point, because we were only going to be there for a few days and then turn around and drive back across country, we decided to have a barbecue. There was a barbecue. Everybody had gathered, a lot of family, extended family, friends of the family. My mom was there, and my stepdad was there, and my mom had an old friend that was actually a friend of both her and my stepdad when they were younger. It was really a nice time. We had the food and the barbecue, and everything was set up outside. It was a hot day. It was a sunny summer day, and it was hot. It was hot for Northeast Ohio. We were still a little bit cold because we were coming from Southern California, where it is normally way hotter than it is in Northeast Ohio. So we still had that chill going on, but to everybody else there, it was blazing hot. So it was a bright, sunny day. Nothing unusual about the day. We were all laughing and talking, and music was playing, and everybody was just kind of catching up on what was going on, and food was cooking, and people were doing the things that you normally do when family gets together to have a cookout. You haven't seen certain members in a long time. So a lot of pictures were being taken, a lot of pictures of different combinations of people. And at one point, we all got together to take group pictures. We took a lot of group pictures, and this was about 18 years ago, so it was back in the day before cell phones. There were 35 millimeter cameras, and you had these rolls of film that you had to put in the camera, and then after you got all your pictures taken and you changed your film every time the roll ran out, when you got back home, you put your film in the shop, which meant that you just took it to your local drugstore, or you took it to one of the big box stores that had photo developing, and you sent the used film rolls off. Somebody would come and pick them up, and then about 2 weeks later, you would get your film. Your film would come back, and it would come back as pictures, and you would get the actual little pictures, and you would get negatives. And the negatives are the things that they printed the pictures off of. And the negatives came on strips. There was like a strip of maybe 4 or 5 pictures per negative, but you got usually, how many ever pictures you took on the roll. Usually there was like 20 or something like that. I don't exactly remember the number of pictures, but sometimes you can get double prints and just all kinds of little things like that. But you would get these, and that's why all people that are older have these photo albums. And I've got these 2 big plastic containers that I'm trying to go through now and separate pictures, because I actually need the space of where the containers are sitting. So you go and you get to pick up your pictures, and like I said, it's anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks later, sometimes a month, and you sit down and you go through your pictures, and you kind of reminisce of whatever trip that you took or whatever you took pictures of. So you didn't get the instant gratification of pictures like you get nowadays with your camera phone. So I was going through the pictures, and everything looked fine. And then there was this one picture. And at first glance of the picture, I thought, well, whoever developed the picture must have made a mistake, because if you lay another negative on top of the picture on top of the other negative, so if you lay one negative on top of the other negative, you'll get a blending of 2 pictures. If you're developing it and you've got one strip here and you mistakenly put another strip over the top of it, which is kind of hard to do if you're a professional, but giving them the benefit of the doubt, there was this double exposed picture. It wasn't like 2 pictures were taken on the same frame, because this frame was in the middle of a section of pictures. And it was only one picture in this middle of the section of pictures, so I couldn't really figure out how another negative or something could have been laid across it, because it would have been more of a blend of pictures than what it turned out to be. So I'm looking at this picture, and the more I look at it, the more I realize that this picture kind of doesn't make sense. So I go find the negative. Sure enough, the picture is in the middle of, I think there's 4. I haven't run across the negative yet, but I know I have it. If you look at the negative, it's almost like one picture, like somehow one frame got laid in a particular way across this other original picture in the middle of the negative. So I'm thinking, okay, well, that's odd in itself. And then I look a little bit closer at the picture, trying to figure out what this background picture is. And the thing that I notice that stands out to me the most is, and maybe you can tell me what this is, because at the time that this happened, I didn't have the knowledge, I didn't have the equipment, I didn't have the wherewithal to take this negative or this picture somewhere and try to get somebody to separate them so I could see each individual picture. And I just saved it all these years, hoping that maybe at one point it would happen and I'd be able to figure out what this background picture was. But the thing that struck me the most in this picture was the white ball, or whatever it is, that's next to the man on the right-hand side, on your right-hand side looking at the picture. There was no one standing next to him on that side. There certainly wasn't any large white solid ball with smaller lines going around it. There really and truly wasn't any what looks like a rip in the floor, and it can't be, well, I say floor because the other it's in the background picture. And the background picture, if you look closely, and I included a sideways view of it, if you look closely, you'll see some kind of cabinet, and there's like a floor part, but then there's this rip that looks all the world like a rip in time or a rip in space or something that this white ball is either coming out of or going down into, and the ball has smaller lines that are circling around it. The more I looked at the other picture, the other part of that picture, and the white, I'm assuming it's white, but the white or cream beige colored cabinet that's sitting there, there's something sitting on top of the cabinet that at first looks like a backpack, and then it looks like it might be a backpack leaning up against some sort of lamp because you see like a lampshade there. But then you also see what looks like a wooden railing, like it might be going up, like a railing to the steps. And then I realized the angles are all wrong. The railing is going up through the space where the lampshade is. And the more I looked at it, the more I realized all the angles are wrong in that picture, the background picture. There's something else there in the picture that I cannot identify. I don't know. It does not look like a person. It looks like a being, but it does not look like a human being. I can tell you at the time that picture, and I remember that particular picture being taken, because at the time that picture was taken, even though it was hot, I had a shiver, the kind that makes you quicken, that kind of makes you shake. And I thought that was odd, and I wondered if, because my kids were standing right there close up on me, and I was wondering if they felt me shake, because it was involuntary. It was just weird, and I did the shiver, and it's the kind that the old folks used to say you shivered because somebody was walking over your grave. So if you've ever been around an old person who said that, ask them what that meant, because they'll tell you it's this cold, shivery feeling that you get. And I thought it was really weird because it was hot there. So I remember that particular picture being taken for that particular reason. I didn't think anything about it afterwards until I actually saw the picture itself. So I don't know what the white thing is. I do know that the white thing is solid, because in the negative of the picture, it's a solid mass. I don't know why there's only one picture that goes across it. I don't know how to pull that picture out so I can see it a little more clearly, because I can't understand the angles that the objects in that picture are. I don't know what the being is or what the being looks like. There's I can vaguely see what he looks like, but that's kind of scary, and I don't really want to, I either want to see it for real and know that my imagination isn't filling in the other parts with something scary, because if it is something scary, I'd rather just see the scary thing than to have my imagination fill in the parts. If you have any ideas what this is, if you have the ability to separate those pictures, if I don't have any answers. All I can say is it's a creepy picture. It's a picture that has baffled me for years, and I kept holding on to it, hoping that sooner or later we'd have the technology where somebody can pull, because I can do a lot of things, but I'm not real good at manipulating photos. I even took a Photoshop course, and I included a picture of me holding this picture so that you would see that it is actually a picture and not something that I manufactured, because trust me, I'm not really that good on Photoshop. Even though I did take a course in it, I'm not that good, and I don't even own Photoshop at this point. But it's not a Photoshopped picture. So if you have any ideas of what this is, or if you can separate the two pictures and you want to put it down in the comment section, It would be greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow this page for more creepy and weird stories and pictures.